It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers. Stronger.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas, and we have wonderful guests. And I have a rather a show and podcast icon, I think, in the business, Miss Kerry Cassidy, and she's going to update us on her intel. So let me bring her on. Welcome,
Hi.
Kerry.
Hi.
So happy to have you on. I really appreciate you coming on my show.
Thank you.
And I love your intel and your updates, and you have a lot of really good contacts and a broad base to analyze things from. So,
Sure, no problem. How's my sound? I just got a new computer, and I haven't had a chance to check anything. So if my sound is way off over the top, let me know.
you sound fine. You sound good.
Oh, all right, fine.
And I didn't put YouTube on, so we don't have to worry about that being taken down or not. I did manage to get one other channel up, but I'm waiting for them to take me down anytime. But I didn't put that on because then we can't talk freely. So we can talk freely now. And one of the things I have to ask you right out the gate, because I got someone to ask, please ask Kerry about med beds. And do you have any information on med beds? So.
Well, I mean, not really, because there are many different kinds. Personally, I don't think you're going to get the real thing at least until Trump and the White Hats maybe come back into power in a more formal, upfront way. They're sort of operational behind the scenes. And even then, there are limitations on this sector of the galaxy, and definitely on Earth. And so I don't know how all of that's going to play out. I'm more of a skeptic than most. I think that some people think they're working, they're going and signing up for these things, and whatever's happening to them in these places, I think maybe it's working for them. I just am a skeptic at the moment. I'm not saying they don't work. There are so many technologies. I'm doing this thing called X39, and it is stimulating your own stem cells to sort of revitalize your body. So I'm very much about self-healing, not so much about something external to you coming in and making you different. So I think that there could be even some frequency issues with some of these medbed places, and maybe people won't know the difference between the good ones and the bad ones. But of course, I guess the way people look at it is the results are what matter. So, but I don't have any inside intel. I know that initially I heard, and I don't even know if it's accurate anymore, but Simon Parks was going to be in charge for the White Hats of the distribution. And then I heard later that he was only going to handle a certain part of the world, and then someone else was going to handle other parts. So it's one of those things. It's a lot like the QFS and the remaking of the financial system, and everyone says it's happening tomorrow or happening today, but where is it? And so
exactly. I'm becoming very skeptical myself, Kerry. I really am. And I'm all behind what you used to say, or have been saying all along, is can we please have some truth? Just put some truth out there. That would help people a lot.
Well, I'd rather have the truth, actually, even, I mean, people that are in dire situations in terms of their health, uh, I don't think people understand the complexity. You know, I'm a healer, sort of not, I don't practice, but I can do healing. Anyway, and I can tell you that when there's something wrong with you physically, there's also something wrong with you on the mental level, and something that is, you know, being accessed by even the negative side on other levels. So you have, you know, many layers of body, and you have a body, mind, you know, soul complex. And the last sort of bastion of what you might call dis-ease or imbalance comes to the lowest level, which is, you know, this earth material level last. So that means that whatever comes forward in your body is actually, in a sense, like you might think of it as a dis-ease, but it's signaling to you that there's a deeper problem that hasn't been handled.
Yeah,
And
a warning sign. Yeah.
I've talked to Sean David Morton about this as well, you know, because this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the body is a complex. And even if you go, let's say you go to a med bed and you get some kind of healing, what will likely occur if there is still an imbalance in you is either it will come back, or it'll come back in a different form, and you'll still have to deal with it, because this is how, you know, this is actually built into the universe. It's not just a, you know, one size fits all. It's all to do with who you are, what your deeper levels are, your relationship with your fellow humans, with plants and animals and everything else, and the higher realms as well, the spiritual and metaphysical and, you know, paranormal, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, any of these illnesses come from those levels, and they can go back in past lives. A lot of stuff can be healed just by going into past lives, doing what you call regression therapy, and finding out where did you get it, where did it come from. There's some really excellent, I think, matrix energetics. It's Richard Bartlett is somebody I interviewed numerous times. He's on my website. You can just search his last name, Bartlett. And I highly recommend his healings. When I was wounded with a scalar weapon, I utilized some of his services, and I think he definitely helped. I think that my understanding of what he was doing helped even more. And I also used the Rife.
Frequency
Rife's
healing.
first name. Not Wilhelm Reich, but
I
Rife
know.
technology, the Rife machine. And that's a frequency, you know, you deal with it in frequencies. And I had a person who helped me start up on that system, and I cured myself of cancer using that and other protocols, including some kind of, I don't think it was snake venom, but it was some kind of solution
Poison.
from Mexico that Sean David Morton helped me purchase. And you know, I did it. I actually had to apply my own techniques into these things, because it's not enough that you just sit there, you know, and think you're going to just accept it and bring it on, and then your body is going to accept it. It's, again, not good enough. You have to go to the deeper levels and figure out, you know, why you're dealing with that, why the impediment to your progress or to your, you know, on your path, or why the challenge is presented. And is there something that you haven't dealt with in your life? And I'm probably giving you a longer explanation than you expected. But as a healer, and the way I look at the world, I don't see it like other people. I see it in terms of energetics. I see it in terms of, you know, that everything around us has consciousness. That includes, you know, the wood of a table, or, you know, the air we breathe, the ether that we're all ensconced in, and that we are also, I'm into psychic perception and signal non-locality, which is used in remote viewing and other things. In other words, that you can be in contact with somebody a world away simultaneously and have an impact from them and vice versa. So these are the things that matter to me that I think are really what is about healing yourself, is about learning about yourself, learning where your sorrows are, where your happiness is, and trying to integrate that. So illness would mean that in the path of integration that you've reached a kind of a blockage of some kind, and you have to work through it. It's not good enough for it to come outside and just slap something on you that's going to sort of make you all better. It's about your consciousness. It's about clearing your consciousness and raising your frequency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, frequency healing is very important. I'm hearing an echo back, but anyway, maybe it went away. The thing I always thought about with the med beds too. Okay, and a lot of this is really based on what you were saying. What happens after you leave? Do you do the same things as well? And end up in the same condition in a short while. So that can be a bit of a problem.
What happens after you leave what? The planet?
No, after you leave the med bed, so you get healed from the med bed, and then what about maintenance? I mean,
right. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you can have a reversal. You can even have a slow sort of degradation. And by the way, this is also happening with the people that use adrenochrome, in case you don't know this. But, because that's they get hooked on. It's like a drug. They get hooked on it. It's basically orgone energy at the root of it, because it comes from other humans. It's basically that. And what I would refer to, having studied Eastern philosophy, as Kundalini energy. So it's stealing energy from other beings and bringing it into your own self. But what happens is a dependency. And then, of course, you can't handle any kind of, shutdown. As I say, it's like heroin or some other drug. So that's, the body it's a dependency mechanism. So these people that want to do that, they can never stop. Otherwise, of course, you've seen even pictures of where people start, literally aging within days from, let's say 50 to 80, or whatever it happens to be. So I'm just saying it's because it's not integrated. Okay, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a wound. Right. It doesn't heal the wound. The Band-Aid
superficial healing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's just a mask, if you will. So the mask is one thing, but the internal, as John Lennon said, you can't hide if you're crippled inside. So it's really that you're going to have to deal with whatever it is, and those beings that latch on to these sort of sick treatments that are out there. There are, other besides adrenochrome, there are a lot of sick things, Botox, all these kind of things. And what happens is, again, a dependency relationship, a sick attachment, a false front, and the body and the soul and the mechanism that goes between all those, the feedback mechanism, if you will, gets interrupted, and it's getting wrong information from you. Okay, so your body as a overall feedback is no longer sending you the right information. It's, it's saying, whatever it's saying. And so the thing is that you are the person who's supposed to decipher when you're good and when you're not. If you look at the external image and that's all you see, then you're not getting it. You're not getting the truth about who you are, what you're all about, or where your life is going, and so on and so forth. So again, these are patches, these are crutches, and people are using those all the time and more, okay? And what also happens is that as a body, soul, mind complex, when you come here, you have things to deal with. So you came here on purpose to manifest whatever it was and to see that in front of you and to deal with it. And so you could see it in another human being, or you can see it in yourself, or you know what I'm saying? And then you actually have to deal with it. If you try to slide away and ignore it or whatever, it doesn't work. It doesn't get healed. Okay. So when you're dealing and you think, a lot of people are sort of hiding and they're non-confrontational and they don't want to be seen for who they really are. And they're, like I say, they're wearing layers of masks and all this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, it comes back to you. You're going to be who you are eventually. And whether you're going to do it in this life or you're going to do it in several other lives, it's going to come back. And so I think if you realize that, it can affect the way you behave in this life. And you can realize that all these fake sort of patches, they might give you some kind of relief for a while, but because you're not dealing with it, it's not going to help you in the long run. You need to do the work to get the results, so to speak.
Well, everybody says do the work, but people need to know what that means when you say that.
It means going internal, going inside, getting into deep meditation, understanding your childhood traumas, for example, reliving them if necessary. You can get assistance from outside. You can get, like I say, a regression therapist. You can get, temporary relief in one way or another. Like a lot of people smoke dope. I can't stand dope. It's gross as far as I'm concerned. I don't think it's healthy for you. I know that's not a popular belief.
What was that?
I didn't. Sorry?
What were you referring to?
Smoking dope, dope.
Cannabis,
marijuana, whatever, all the different kinds. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't allow you to sort of be able to heal. It can have some healing effects, is what I'm trying to say. So, but you have to understand the things that it is not healing, the things that it is, the impediments that it may be, let's say, covering over. So you're not ever dealing with them. You go through your life in sort of a cloud kind of thing. And I understand that a lot of people even find the healing things in that for cancer and other diseases. They also allows them to just make it through the day. And all of that is understandable. I'm not putting that down. I'm just saying personally, I see a different scenario there. Okay.
Goes deeper than that is what you're getting at.
Yeah. I'm talking on a spiritual level, I guess you might say.
Yeah.
I'm talking, if if your understanding is that we come here as part of a spiritual challenge, if you will, to not only help others and work with others, but to to advance ourselves on a spiritual level, then any of these things, again, that you use as crutches, as to put a facade over, to placate yourself. I mean, we all do it. Okay, it's not like and I'm not saying I'm perfect in that way, but you can monitor this in yourself and see what are you doing that is detrimental to your overall spiritual progress. And we have to be our own spiritual masters as far as I'm concerned. I don't even think going to another spiritual master is a solution. But I have kind of a different, maybe you might call me more of a spiritual hardliner or something like that. Because, I think cold turkey, you really, I've traveled in India and I've studied Eastern philosophy, and all over the world I've traveled, and I've delved deeply into various religions and this and that. And I really, I'm not going to be shy about the fact that I am skeptical of a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Even let's talk about technology. So technology makes your life easier in certain ways, but it can also allow you, you might say, an escape hatch through which you may then again be avoiding some face-to-face stuff that you haven't dealt with. And so it can be dangerous in that sense. Again, as any crutch can be, because if you depend on a crutch for too long, you don't develop the muscles to fight whatever it is. And this is all in Eastern philosophy. It tends to be more in the Eastern philosophy than in the West, where you study Zen or even, Kung Fu or all of the different Eastern disciplines. They're disciplines. They're learning how to integrate the body, mind, soul complex and to make, and to bring you to that, to the wall. So, to deal with it directly. And so that you're not living your life in a state of avoidance. Mm-hmm. And,
well, it's like the pharmaceutical industry is what's taken over in the Western world, and it never cures anything. It actually causes more problems in the long run. And
right.
So that's where Eastern philosophies are probably much more in the right direction, even though they're probably not perfect either. But I guess that's the search for the Holy Grail. It's healing is there's a lot to it. And I don't know if we knew when we came in for this job that we were going to be poisoned at every turn. Our air,
right.
Our
well,
water.
That's part of the challenge, In other words, if you don't have adversity, then you don't get challenged. Okay. And if you don't get challenged, you don't recognize yourself. You don't meet yourself on the road at every juncture. So wherever you are challenged is where you need to be challenged. And that may be harsh. Again, people may look at me as having a harsh view of reality, but that's reality. So I don't, for what it's worth, I have a more spiritual way of looking at, let's say, impediments. And, someone could be born blind, or they could be born, without a limb, or whatever it happens to be, right? And so this is a choice. It's a spiritual choice more than anything. And this is going to force the being who comes in with whatever it is, whatever the impediments are to like a smooth, happy life, right? An easygoing life. When things are harder is when you meet yourself and you have to face come up with the will to overcome the adversities. And I've seen in my own life, some of the things that appeared to be the most negative have been the most positive for me in my development.
But not right away, right?
Sure. Needless to say, I mean, you would see them as negative in the beginning, for sure. Yeah. But what I'm saying is somewhere down the road, I've recognized that they have been beneficial, and I think that's really important. And then when you meet a person, this is where it gets a little strange, but say you meet a person and you think, oh, poor them, they have this or that, right, wrong with them, or they might have, they could be very wealthy or they could be very poor. It doesn't really matter. You can feel sorry for them because they're in a difficult position as a result of where they are born. But the reality is that I don't think it engenders, it can engender a certain amount of empathy, but not pity. Okay, so we don't need pity. Pity is actually a very degrading response to these challenges that we are faced with. So I think it's not something that I go around thinking, that somebody needs a lot of sympathy. I could say, what is that movie? Forrest Gump. I can't stand that movie. I hate movies like that. The reason is because they like to take these impediments and make you feel sorry for the character and all this kind of stuff. And I don't think that's accurate. I don't think people with impediments of all kinds are to be pitied. I think that they are to be maybe understood. I think you could even assist them from time to time, but you can't assist them all the time because they'll never learn. They'll never get over whatever it is they brought in with them. And the ones that take the challenge head on and really overcome those challenges, do these miraculous things you read about, that people do with handicaps and various things. This is the challenge that we ask to come in with. And even things that you might not think is a challenge, to the being could be a challenge. For example, if you come in really good looking, and then everyone treats you nice because you're good looking or whatever. And then you find out that you got through that part of life really easily. Well, you didn't learn anything and you didn't develop any muscles. And then later in life, you're like a lot more useless, not only to yourself, but to others, and so on and so forth. In other words, the ones that come in, and those of us that are warriors, fighters, whatever you call us, we innately, and this is built in again to the Eastern philosophy, why they always show, fighting and learning how to do all these things, is because that's learning how to overcome weakness and to again meet yourself at every juncture.
Wow, well, that's good. I guess another.
I'm just trying to answer your question. Maybe I missed the.
No, that was great. I mean, it's true. It was all that's good information about healing, from a healer's standpoint and energetic, and that's really where we're at with medicine now, is energy medicine more than anything. Another thing that I think people have to overcome in this realm is the programming that we've been subjected to, either through our educational system, our culture, our TV, or whatever it happens to be. Because I was just looking at this one article here just recently about this psychologist Stanley Milgram found that 80% of the population do not have the psychological or moral resources to defy an authority's order, no matter how illegitimate the order is. Therefore, only 20% have critical thinking capacity. Now, that's kind of depressing. That's a result.
Let me just say something about these kinds of things, where they say that they're doing some survey or analyzing a certain group of people. To be honest, as far as I'm concerned, they don't know fuck all about people. And they don't get it. I mean, even their intelligence tests don't measure intelligence.
That's
they
right.
don't
That's true.
also have any idea what spiritual intelligence is, emotional intelligence. They don't understand the various levels at which we come in. They don't understand the gifts that people bring to the table because they are strange or I think more and more intelligence agencies began to realize this. And so they started hiring people that didn't fit the Ivy League notion of what, they thought an agent should be. It happened during World War II. They started hiring people that were, what you call round holes that didn't fit into round
square peg and around,
square holes.
Yeah.
So they realized that humanity, in a sense, if you think of it as a whole, is got, I was just at the mall the other day, and I was looking at every size and shape of body and every different kind of clothing these people wear, and all the different colors of skin, like tonalities of skin color, and every nationality you can imagine. And granted, I live near LA, which is quite a melting pot of races. So the thing about it is that what you realize is how incredible this amazing humanity is. And so when people come to me and they make blanket statements, and the Illuminati has been doing this forever, they're trying to sell you a version of yourself, okay? But if you accept it, it's just like taking a psychiatrist or psychologist and taking their version of you. It's insane, okay? Anytime you look outside yourself and take someone else's version of you as take it on board, you're basically in self-denial. And the real master of who you are and who you really are and all your different incarnations, you can't judge other people on the face that you are currently looking at at any given time, unless you happen to be more psychic perceptive, in which I can have the ability, when I meet a person, I can start seeing their past lives that are integrating into whoever I'm faced with at the moment. So, and that means male, female, everything under the sun, and also talking about ETs and your ET background. I can read that, and more and more I have, I get downloads about people, and I don't know if I've talked about this much, but I was at the Super Soldier event or something, and they had this, what do you call it? It was like a group thing where people could go in the morning, everyone got together and sat in a round circle, and people were doing readings of people and everything. And I just went, because I never go to that kind of thing. And so I thought, well, I had nothing else to do in my hotel room. So I thought, what the hell, I'll just go down there and just, kind of hang out and see what's going on. And so I went down there and I started getting downloads on all the people in the circle. And I didn't even know why or how it worked out, but I started to speak out about it. I started to do readings on one after the other, and it was just all coming to me like that. Wow. And it's not something I like to do necessarily. It's not something I want to do, but I have had it happen in my life. So I'm just saying, when you're faced with a person and you're looking at them and thinking, oh, they're fat, or they're, this color, or they're that color, or whatever your issue might be, or you might be pegging them as one nationality when in reality they might be 6 other ones, because we're all hybrids. So what I'm saying is people that judge other people on just the surface are so not getting it. So that comment that you just told me, about 80% because of programming have to take orders, that's all bullshit. Could change tomorrow.
That was a psychologist. That's what you get when you go to the psychologist. Yeah,
well, I don't.
And along with a couple of labels, I'm sure.
Yeah, frankly, I think they're all out of their fucking minds. Sorry for my French, but the reality is the worst thing you can do is take their idea of you and try to comply with it and go along with it. I mean, that's what's wrong
propaganda too.
Society
really.
Right now is they bought a picture of humanity that's a lie. You were told you were stupid. You were told you were a sinner. Yeah. The minute you got born on this earth, you're supposed to be a sinner. Now, what kind of logic is that? It's insane, okay? It is insanity. And it's a reptilian religion that makes people think these things. Why? Because the reptilians look down on you. They want you to be in like a pity party and have a bad opinion of yourself. And they want to have, raise your kid in school and get them beat up by all the bullies and be told that they're not good enough in this and they're not good enough when they could have some amazing gifts that are just completely untapped and be smarter than everyone else in those areas. So, these generalities about people, I can't stand them. I just really
Yeah, there's a lot of that out there too, especially in the psychological field, which is actually based on
it's very detrimental.
Yeah,
I mean, I know a certain well-known, what do you want to call these people? Influencer like myself who has their own channel, blah, blah, blah. And they got hooked into this particular, it's a psychiatrist or psychologist, his little scale of humanity and where you fit on it. In fact, I know several people that got hooked into it. And so what I found out was that, and one of those people actually went home and told their child that they were, locked into some kind of stupid level because that's what they were born, like based on their birth sign. I mean, how completely deranged this is. But these people buy into this stuff, and it's really like a Nazi mentality, to where you experiment on humanity, experiment on people, you categorize them, you slice them, you dice them. But how do you do that when we are ever becoming, we are eternal, and we are ever changing, and we are incarnating simultaneously into many bodies and all over, not just the planet, but all over the solar systems. I mean, we are as unlimited as the creator who created us. So if you don't get that, if you want to limit people,
That's what
I
they
don't have
do.
time for you.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's probably one of the greatest gifts to humanity that we could impart would be to get them to recognize their divinity, their real source of spiritual power.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the uniqueness of who each and every person is and what they bring to the table that will enhance the rest of us. Because that's what we all want. We all come with gifts. We come bearing gifts, and we are the gift.
And yeah, and like you said, and starting off being told you're a sinner and you're this and you're that, and it just gets you on a very low vibration right out the gate, and
Right.
And then and then not to mention the jabs and the number of them that our children are subjected to compared to when we were little. I mean, oh my God,
Right.
just more and more and more, and people have been so duped. I don't know if we've been in some kind of a trance or what, but so much of this, we have to be accountable. We let it happen, little by
Well,
little
yeah,
by
that's
little.
why I don't think going around feeling sorry for people that are in bad situations or have lived through, childhood trauma, et cetera, et cetera. There's a reason why a soul will put themselves through these. That's the way I look at it. I mean, I look that we make soul choices. We put ourselves in certain experiences in order to learn. And, you learn about the dark and you learn about the light. And you're going to continue to learn about it. I mean, it's not like you can, stop it. It's going to happen. It's built into the universe, the multiverse.
Do you believe that people agreed to all the things that happened to them in this lifetime prior to being in this life? I mean, some people say that.
I think there's a soul, cooperation, let's say, with destiny. I think we meet our destiny head on, and whether we like it or not, and that if that's going to be your choice, that you make choices. There are choices, and then you bring something closer to you or you push it further away. And a certain choice can either save your life and keep you here on the earth longer, and from our point of view that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying it's not always like that. It's like some people it's time for them to leave. So it wouldn't be a good thing if they stayed. It's not a good, in other words, they are at a sort of stopping point in their growth and development here on Earth. So they need to leave this dimension to continue or either come back in another form or continue on somewhere else. So I think, again, our view of life and death is very limited. There's a whole codified popular view of what things mean and what's life, what's death, what's good, what's bad, all that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in many ways, these things can be, as I say, something bad can actually end up good. You can break up with somebody. You could think it's a tragedy. You think it's the worst thing that ever happened to you. Turns out it's the best thing that ever happened to you. When you see through your own eyes later on. So things are locked in time and space, and you see them differently depending on where you are in your trajectory, right? So even when I look in the past and I think of some of my choices and I'm thinking, oh my God, spare me. Like, I wish I didn't make those choices.
I got plenty of those too.
I can't take it back. It happened, right? I chose whoever, these weird relationships or whatever it happened to be. But it's taught me so much, right? So if I didn't have that experience, I simply would be naive again. So it's kind of like, whether we like it or not, life is all about getting rid of naivete on everything. Okay, so no longer can you say, I'm not responsible, I don't know, I was duped, I was, this or that. It's not about that, I
That
just
could
got
be
a kid,
willful ignorance.
and I'm watching the kitten explore her, universe, right? And she falls down and she goes, wants to jump too far, and she she makes wrong decisions, right? And then she learns, and every time she learns, every day she's learning like so fast, I can't even believe it. And I think every human is like that. We're all learning at an incredible speed, and I think it's kind of exciting. What I don't like is when I see people, and this has to do with my sort of obsession with, exposing secrets. Because if you don't know a secret, and your whole world is surrounded by secrecy, then you basically, it behooves you to investigate and find out the truth behind the secrecy. And people that are keeping secrets from you are stopping your growth, their growth, and the growth of the people around you. And this is when I get into a big thing with the white hats, because I'm like, don't be like our enemy, okay? Do not start being as secretive as they are. Unfortunately, that's more or less the road they've gone down. It's their choice. They do it because they say they're in, the fog of war and they have to do all that. But the minute Trump comes back into office in an obvious way in which he acknowledges that he is the president and CIC, and so does the rest of the world, and so does the military, who will have to back him with that, so he doesn't just sound like he's making shit up. Then we will be taking Trump to task and saying, okay, now you're this, you can't get away from it. You can't blame it on Biden anymore. You can't blame it on somebody else. You're going to have to do. And the good thing about Trump is that, at least as far as I've seen, he really does step up. He's
He
not
does
make an executive choice.
It appears that way anyway.
And that has been to his benefit, because we have so many people, and especially so-called leaders, who say they're going to do something but never do it. Now, there are things that Trump has not done, okay, that he said he would do. But we have to keep in mind that this is an ongoing war. It's a battle, and we're still in the thick of it. And people that think, well, we won, you can just sit back and watch the movie, that's bullshit. The reality of humanity and freeing humanity is an ongoing, never-ending struggle, as far as I'm concerned, here on planet Earth, okay? And if you don't see the evidence, you're blind. It's obvious that we still have people, dying of hunger. We have unlimited limitation. We have scarcity models that are false. We have good, clean water that comes from within the earth. Oil renews itself. All these things that we realize are actual truths are not out there in the mainstream. They're not how we live our lives or run our planet. So these things are lies, 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 lies. So that a lot of us are faced with people who are in denial constantly, who are lying to themselves and others constantly. I mean, these are things that disturb me, that make me want to do the job I do. I find them challenging. I find them, I'm not going to stop. I am not going to stop. And I don't care who doesn't like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, there's a lot out there right now. There's a lot of, some of our best people are still deceived. I see this, they're not copying to the real truth. Some of the white hats are trying to keep like the truth of aliens and the visitation and come on, really, this is all front and center now. It's simultaneous. It's not, oh, you deal with this now, you elect Trump now, and then sometime down the road, you allow people to realize this, that, and the other. It's, I don't know, like living in slow motion.
It's too slow. Yeah, it is slow motion.
Yeah.
It is slow motion.
I see beings, humanity, even the dumb, seemingly dumb ones, I see us as being, 360 degrees. I don't see us as being flat and only being able to handle one thing at a time. I think that's complete nonsense.
Oh, you mean multitask? Is that what you're talking about?
Just,
Or-
yeah,
Oh.
truths, you name it. I mean, there's an obsession not only within the white hats and their philosophy, but also in the Illuminati, the way they treat you and humans, is to think that you can only hold one clear thought in your mind at a time, that you can't handle contradiction, that, how people say, oh, what are they doing over here while you're looking over there, that kind of thing. Not knowing that you actually have 360-degree vision, that you're all psychic, you're all remote viewers, and you can see it all at once if you want. I mean, we don't live in a, what we call it a linear world view. That's how one thing happens, then the next thing, and then the next thing. That's not actually accurate. Even Native Americans have known this forever. Time and space are simultaneous, okay? Everything is happening at once, right? So it's just how your perception at any given moment, what you choose to look at. It helps us to zoom in to a sort of a linear and follow a through line, because it helps us to see things closer and follow a narrative, so to speak. But it's very detrimental if you think you're going to teach people that way, because you're not. We are not actually built like that. There's a reason why our heads are circular. We are actually, we live on in this, I know people want to think we live on a flat earth, but I'm sorry. They're not seeing the other dimensions. This is multi-dimensional. We are multi-dimensional. We are faceted, if you will.
Brain studies have shown that we have access 11 dimensions, I believe, in our brain's capacity. Let me put it that way.
Right.
Why exactly some of it's been suppressed, I'm not sure if that's from programming or genetic modification or what, but whereas maybe it's just something, maybe that involves more spiritual development. I'm not sure, but that's
well, you can choose to explore other avenues all the time. So it doesn't matter when somebody gives you an order, you can think along different lines.
Well, they consider order followers a problem, if they don't think for themselves. In some situations, it's best to, and in other situations, if it's a bad order, you have to have the gumption to be able to defy it. But I'm sure that's not easy to do either, just the way the system is and everything. But don't you feel that more truth is coming out now?
Yes and no, but I kind of see it again as it's always been out there, like the X-Files, the truth is out there. It's been in us as well. And it's always there. It's not like it just started because we started to get involved in, MAGA politics or whatever. Some of these things come to the fore, like in more sharp relief. But they're always there. It's just, where are they coming to the surface more? So this era and these actually, these eras here are times of revealing. That's what we're living through, is these revealings. And so I think a lot of what went on in the earth and the trajectory of humanity up to now has been, you might say, learning experiences that have been culminating to some degree at this time, to where we are realizing that all these things are simultaneous, that all these timelines and historical things are still continuing, at the same time that we're experiencing the now. So you can choose to focus on whatever you want. You can, right now, let's say, you can watch a period piece and you can transport yourself back in time to that time period and examine it and see it perhaps as, a soul, how you experienced it back then, or you can see the flaws and the inconsistencies and contradictions there. You can fast forward to the future. I mean, in other words, we are time travelers, basically, and we can go and see anything at any time period. That's what remote viewing is about. It's about looking into space and time and picking out certain incidents. It tends to be more material than spiritual, so it's not the only way to look at things. I tend to be more on the psychic side. I have practiced some remote viewing and find that it does work. But again, it's very materialistic. It's very kind of nuts and bolts and here and now on the everyday earth that you might think about it. That's how it's used also by the military and all that. But, I'm just saying it's truth is, it's kind of weird because I think that every era thinks it's, stupendous, right? If you go back in time and you listen to some of the things they're saying that, the train was being invented and, life, people that went from the cowboy days to, more industrial. They thought everything was changing so rapidly then. We think it's changing now with AI and even more rapidly. And some say it is more rapid. But the reality is that all of this is simultaneous because time and space are one.
Yeah, sometimes some of these concepts are hard to wrap around people's head for whatever reason, because we haven't.
Yeah, but you can, in other words, it's kind of like the hourglass idea. Mm-hmm. You can go from the hourglass, so you go from the macrocosm to the microcosm, and you go through the thinnest part where you get very specific and focus on something detailed. Mm-hmm. So it's really the ability of the mind to do that. That actually, I think, is more than anything the definition of intelligence, is your fluidity with that ability. So, to go from the specific to the general, if you want to be really simplistic about it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
We have, all I'm saying is that we have these abilities. Whether you choose to, exploit them, explore them, is your choice.
Well, all right. Well, we're talking about self-realization and the self-authentication, shall we say, and it's a challenge for everybody, and nobody can do it for you.
Right.
And I think the biggest part is being able to clear your mind from all the busyness that you get accustomed to. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I learned to do that. I taught myself that when I was quite young, so I developed that ability. Some people never really spend much time developing it, but a lot of people don't realize they're doing it naturally, even when there's different places and times. Like you could be riding a subway and not realizing that you're actually meditating during that process. Or you could be mowing your lawn and you don't realize you're meditating. Or you could be dancing and not realizing you're in a state of meditation or an altered state, or a Zen sort of state, and
running can be like that too. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
It kind of zen out.
That's right. So we are kind of natural. I know that people like to say, well, you have to follow certain protocols to meditate, so and so. It's not actually quite accurate. We have all these abilities are natural to us. So it's not something that is unnatural. It's more the way you're looking at it, where you're saying, oh, I can't do thus and so.
Yeah. Well, and that's something too. I used to argue with. They say you create your own reality, and for a long time I didn't believe that. I said, if I created my own reality, why is this here? Why blah 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 blah. And no, I don't. But then when you really think about the programs you got going on in your head about what you think of yourself or what you think you can do, a lot of times self-confidence and comes into play there, and but recognizing it in yourself and
Well,
attempting
a
to
lot of
fix
the
it.
things are programs,
Mhm.
So if you realize it's a program and it's put into, you know, schools and religious institutions, it's in books, it's in movies, it's a way of thought that they have tried to capture your mind with. Okay, it's a cage,
Imprint it. Yeah.
right?
You
And so,
have to pull it out of the print.
yeah, I think it's possible to change your mind and to climb out of these cages.
Yeah, I know it is, because I know that I've myself, my own journey, um, come a long way. And I started late in life. I didn't start very young. I was older already. I was busy into the career thing and a lot of the mm, more socially acceptable ways or something like that. But I found that I even in the field that I work with, I was a natural rebel because I was always looking for the truth. And that's why I do what I do now too, because I really like to bring guests forward that can help people along the way as we evolve and move forward. So,
Right. And thank you. And that's great that you do what you do.
yeah. Well, you're a model for that, so I appreciate that a great deal, because you've done this for so many years, and I look up to you for that, and I think it's a wonderful thing, because we need people like you to do that, to help people, to guide people, and I think you're doing a great job. So we just
Thank
keep
you.
putting it out there. Everybody covers things a little differently and so on, and then it just gets a broader group of people and so on. So we've been going for almost an hour now. Do you have anything breaking news that you'd like to share, or should we?
Well, I mean, I could comment briefly on this thing going on with the royal family, and Kate seems to be pretty hot news right now. Some people are
Yeah.
saying they're about to make an announcement that she has died. My understanding is that the real police chief, which is a website called buymeacoffee.com/truther, he has actually come out and said she has gone into witness protection, and so probably are the children, by the way. Now, how that's handled by the royal family and how the various speakers out there on the circuit are talking about it is another matter. I think Juan just did a show with Nino in which he kind of covered the gamut. The idea that William was created as one of the Antichrist figures and fits the billing in terms of genetics and so on. What is really going on there? It has a lot to do with, this is the nest of the dark magicians stuff that they put out. So I think it's only useful to really watch it in terms of what they're trying to do and which direction they're trying to lead humanity. I think more so than for the nuts and bolts of what it really is talking about, which is a lot of satanic stuff. So just to be aware of that, and whether or not someone is has been cloned, that could be the choice that they make, and then she'll show up again.
Yeah.
Your body devils. It's the same thing with Biden. Juan says there are 4 Bidens. We're talking about body doubles. We're talking about individuals who have actually died in real, and been verified behind the scenes, and then people are following them as if they're alive. Instead, they're following a body double who's under orders, who basically is given a script and delivers it. Either they do a good job or a bad job. In most cases, it doesn't even matter. And that's what we're faced with right now. We're living in a hall of mirrors constantly. And I don't think getting so hung up on the fact that it is a hall of mirrors is really going to be all that helpful. I think you have to discern if something has meaning for you, if it tells you about something deeper, then perhaps you follow it further. But just the sensation or the superficiality of these moments, you know, there's a lot of this going on. So you can pay attention to your own life, and you can, you know, do something creative for yourself or the planet. Or you can, you know, watch the show, so to speak, that is literally being performed in front of your face by the Illuminati and by all their henchmen and women. Or, you know, you can reject it. You can watch commercials, or you can reject them. You know, they're selling you something. A lot of times you're being sold something. So the New World Order is selling you the New World Order, you know. So these are sales jobs.
Smart cities and so on.
Yeah, whatever. You know, whatever is the latest thing. And then, you know, trying to convince you that you are one thing or another, labeling people so-and-so. It's all, it's, you know, we're living in a very mercurial, mad time. I think there are still things to be, you know, places to find joy and fascination with what's going on in the world around us. So, you know.
I find the best way to get away is to go out in nature. And,
I agree. That's a great way to do it.
That's the best thing to do. And
yes.
I haven't done as much of it as I should here lately, and I need to get back out there. It helps with grounding. You just feel so much better and everything.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
because we're connected to nature, and they're trying to disconnect us even more than we already are with a lot of things that are going on. Alrighty then. Well, that pretty much went in a direction I didn't expect, but that's cool. We did. I appreciate what you said, and I think it's very important for people to know those things. That, you know, healing goes deep. It really does.
Oh yeah, we're all healing. Everyone's healing on some form or fashion, and we're healing the planet. You know, we're healing the solar system. We're healing, you know, humanity in general.
And that's a beautiful thing. And it can only get better the more people that do it, and the more we get this place healed up, and we can make it a paradise if we focus on that. I like to think, anyway. What you focus on is what you're supposed to get. So we got to focus on the good things. Wouldn't you agree?
Right. Well, I think that's true, and also not necessarily true.
Explain.
Oh, just, you know, this idea that what you focus on is what you're going to get. That's not completely true.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know,
sometimes it doesn't happen.
That's also a way of dumbing yourself down to the realities around you and dealing with them. So again, if you don't meet them head on, and if you don't deal with things like child trafficking head on, if you think you can just look away and it'll go away, that's not going to happen. So I think it's you have to be careful of some of these platitudes that they try to sell you every day and every night, because they're really trying to ask you, look away, don't bother yourself about this, don't try to attract it to yourself by focusing on it, you know, which is not true, because you can also focus light on something and destroy the darkness and expose it. And that's, you know, that's what we're doing here as well.
Yeah, and that's critically important in order to expose it so more and more people see it. Because that's the only way we can heal as a result, too. So that makes all kinds of sense. So I see what you're saying. That makes sense. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with me. And
yes, likewise.
I really appreciate it. And it was an interesting talk.
Okay. All right. So you take care, Gail.
You do. You too, Kerry. And you keep doing what you're doing. And,
okay, you too. All right.
I'll see you out there, okay? I always pay attention. Yep. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show up.